I don't think there was ever one moment where I just thought or woke up one morning and go, blacksmith, that's what I want to be. I always loved medieval history as a kid, and I was always fascinated looking at swords and axes and suits of armour. I've always enjoyed working my hands as well, ever since I was a little kid playing with Lego, loved making stuff. Try everything you can, try every material, even if you think you're not going to enjoy it. Have a play. It's inspiration. At the end of the day, it's just exposing yourself to as much as possible.
Hello and welcome to this shorter version of episode 8 of Creative Careers, featuring none other than Chris the Smith, the artist blacksmith. Hopefully you have seen the full episode, which is available on my channel, and there is a link to it in the description of this video below. I would encourage you to watch it if you've got an interest in any of the main themes, whether that's blacksmithing itself, traditional skills, heritage crafts, running your own business, any of those sorts of things. It's a great episode, and as I say, I had so much fun filming it in Chris's Forge. If you've only got a passing interest in some of those themes though, the main topics, if you like, are captured in this highlights episode just for you. Now, thank you so much if you are an existing subscriber to my channel. If you're not, all you need to do is click on the subscribe link below. That way you'll get notifications for free of all the videos that come through without having to do anything. And speaking of free, that's exactly what this is. It's a free online resource designed really to help people, young people particularly, with career guidance, inspiration, creative thoughts, that sort of thing. So please do share with anybody you feel might benefit from the content. With that said, on with the highlights episode. So I met with Chris in his forge workshop near Solihull, where he told me all about his life as an artist blacksmith. He's had his own business for over 10 years since graduating from the Hereford College of Arts.
I spent 3 years at Hereford College of Arts, where I got a degree in artist blacksmithing. And a lot of that was the technical side of things, learning how to move the materials, forge maintenance, tool making, all of that sort of stuff. There was a huge amount of practical. You were trained to do this, but during the second and third year there was a large amount of business studies involved as well. All of the tutors were practicing craftspeople and artists, so you had that insight beyond the college bubble. You had that insight into the real world. They talked to you about how they sell their work, how much they charge for their work, how long it takes to develop a piece that they're happy with, where's that line between something that they are happy with and something that they're not. And you geared up to run your own business come the end of it. One of our final projects was to build a business plan. The idea being you graduate, you walk into a bank, you give them the business plan, they give you a loan and you're off. I always loved medieval history as a kid, and I was always fascinated looking at swords and axes and suits of armour in museums. I've always enjoyed working my hands as well, ever since I was a little kid playing with Lego, loved making stuff. And my dad was a DT teacher at a local school, so he had a bit of knowledge about lots of different materials, had access to the kit. So when I got bored during summer holidays or Easter holidays, or even on a weekend, he used to take me into the school workshops and set me a project, use me as a guinea pig for projects for students the following year. So I had a chance to play around with lots of different materials as a kid. I did art and DT right the way through school. Found out quite quickly that I wasn't really that good at 2D stuff. So drawing, painting, even photography wasn't really my forte, but give me a lump of clay or a block of wood and a glue gun and I was away. I loved it. So played around with different materials, started working with sheet metal at school during my A-levels and loved that. Loved working with the brazing hearth, getting the material warm and manipulating it. So Mum and Dad decided to buy me a weekend course for the blacksmith for my 17th birthday, and that was it. Hook, line and sinker. I just fell in love with the craft. It was a perfect balance of getting my hands dirty and moving the material. It brought in that sort of historical element because the basic kit hasn't changed much. The techniques, the tools haven't changed much for the best part of 2,000, 2,500 years. So it was a real step back in time. And it was a nice outlet for that creative element that I'd been looking for. I developed my own style over those 3 years, so I knew what I liked, what sort of aesthetic I liked, and I was able to apply that aesthetic to different products to create different items to sell. But there was a real leap between finishing university and actually setting up by myself. It was a massive leap of faith. Most blacksmiths, I think, are one-man bands. The craft to sort of lead itself to that. It's not an easy workspace to share because you'll often find yourself bouncing from one bit of kit to another. So trying to plan, right, I'm going to be using this bit of kit and that bit of kit whilst my partner uses that bit of kit and that bit of kit. You don't end up bumping into each other. The larger the workshop, the easier that is, but that increases your overheads and makes it more difficult. Plus, you've got to find someone that you really enjoy working with, especially if you're in a fairly intimate workshop and you're working on the same project. You've almost got to know without talking to each other what they're going to be doing. The general perception of blacksmithing is big, heavy industrial stuff. But there's another side to it, which is the smaller, delicate, more intricate, almost domestic side of things. And that's where I like to try and point myself, because it's not necessarily what people expect. It makes you a bit novel, which from a marketing point of view is really useful. It makes you more appealing. People want to buy things from you because they haven't seen it before.
Chris's workshop has been built for his specific needs, with careful consideration for how his business might develop in the years to come. Nevertheless, I was quite surprised at how traditional a blacksmith's kit still is.
So the basic kit for smithing boils down to your three H's. You've got holding, you've got heating, and you've got hitting. So the forge is a really crucial bit of kit, being able to supply that heat to get the material up to a point where you can move it. You've got to be able to hit material, so you've got a variety of different hammers that do different jobs, create different shapes, and you've got to have a decent surface to work against. That's where the anvil comes in. Now, the anvil does almost as much work as the hammer, so the bigger the anvil, the more work it's going to do for you. So this anvil is about, I think, 110 kilos. It's about 120 years old as well. It's something that you can pick up new, but it's not really a need. When I take people through an experience day, I introduce them to the kit, and I say, this is the forge, this is the primary heat source you're going to be working with. It's a glorified barbecue, the hairdryer stuck on the back of it. It's a ridiculously simple bit of kit. It hasn't changed much since the Bronze Age. It's just gone from a pit that was dug into the ground to a pit that's now at hip height, so it's more comfortable to use. And you've got a mechanised air supply on the back. You've got an electric fan instead of a set of bellows to give you a consistent airflow, which gives you a consistent heat and helps you to prevent the bar from damaging. So it's a ridiculously simple bit of kit, and in my mind, there's a reason why it hasn't changed for such a long time. If it ain't broke, you don't try and fix it. So the forge hasn't changed shape for a very, very long time, and most anvils haven't changed shape for a long time either. This is what's known as a London pattern anvil. It's made by Peter Wright, I think over in Oldbury, turn of last century, possibly a little earlier. And because it has been used properly, it's in near enough the same condition it was when it was first cast. I've had to do a little bit of repair work to it to bring some of the corners back and smooth off that surface, but it should outlast me. I should be able to sell this on to some other young thing when I decide to retire, and they should be able to get 50, 60 years worth of work out of it as well. The really nice thing for me is this is a step back in time. Although I'm working in a modern workshop with electric lighting, the core of it is so traditional, it's so steeped in history that you can almost envisage how Romans, Vikings, Egyptians, everyone else was working with iron.
There is no doubting Chris's self-reliance and drive, but a huge part of his success has been reliant upon building up a network around him. A large part of this has come through exposure at live shows, where he's really been able to bring his business to life.
Doing the shows, being out there in front of, so for example, the autumn show, I think they had something like 50,000 people through a day. 10% of those people see you, and 10% of those people decide that they want something from you. That's a lot of people who either want to buy something or have you make something. So those sort of shows, they are fantastic exposure. It's a brilliant shop window for people, not just to see what you do, but to have a chat with you and go, oh, could you do this? And you go, yeah. About 2 years after I set up for myself, I saw a group called the Cotswold Craftsmen. I think it was at the Three Counties Agricultural Show at Malvern, and I approached them about becoming a member. I had to go in for sort of an interview. I had to set up a mock stall in their gallery. They vetted me, they vetted my work, and I was accepted as a provisional member, I think, in 2014. And that is brilliant. It's a really nice support network. Although it's technically a guild, it's more of a cooperative. You're all in it to help each other.
When it comes to social media, Chris is reliant on his family to help manage his online content, as his job is just too demanding to be able to give it his full attention. This support structure is crucial to ensuring that his business continues to gain exposure.
It's having those people in place and also having the confidence in them to do what you want them to do or what needs to be done. I've learned that being self-employed means that you rarely rely on other people. You have this sort of feeling that you need to do it all yourself, and that takes its toll. So starting to learn that there are other people out there who can do the work for you, whether it's having someone to do your social media, someone who books your shows for you, or even just, in my case, having someone who can powder coat the work for you instead of you having to stand there for hours cleaning it all up and spray painting it by hand. And there are people out there who do certain things in industry and outside of industry for a reason. So you might as well utilise them. They're there for people like you. I've never put much faith in like the 5-year plan, because I never know what life's going to throw at me, and I never know what I'm going to want to be doing in 3 or 4 years. At the moment, I really enjoy running the experience days, so I can see myself continuing those. Certainly from a financial point of view, it makes sense because that's where the demand is at the moment. When I've got myself the power hammer, it opens up the possibility of making larger, more intricate items faster and with a little bit more accuracy. It's that's the main thing at the moment, is building up that balance in the bank to afford a bit of kit, which is going to keep me going for longer. Because at the end of the day, this is a really physical job. So I need to start to plan, how am I going to do this for the long run? I can't work everything by hand. Try everything you can. Try every material, even if you think you're not going to enjoy it. Have a play, because if you've tried it and you know you don't enjoy it, it helps you narrow down that choice. Don't be too blinkered to start with. I think if you concentrate on one thing too much, and then you realise that you don't enjoy it, you will find that you've lost out on lots of other opportunities along the way. So it is good to have drive and it is good to have focus, but you want that variety. I think that's really, really important. I mean, during the first year at Hereford at university, we were encouraged to go into all of the other workshops available to us. So although there were blacksmiths' forges there was also fabrication workshops, there were small metals workshops where you could do a little bit of almost jewellery work. There were ceramic studios, there were woodwork studios, there were fabric studios. We were encouraged to just go in and have a play with all of it, because although you may not end up incorporating those materials into your final pieces, it's having the experience, and it just broadens your horizons a little bit.
So fantastic morning here with Chris in his workshop forge. It just goes to show that a traditional sort of heritage craft like this, blacksmith, we think about it, it goes back thousands of years. But in the modern world, there is definitely a place for crafts like this. What Chris has had to do, obviously, is diversify. He has got his products, that he's come up with in according to what the market wants. he's able to sell those at certain places. He will take on commissions, but he will also get involved with workshops where he's able to use his skill and passion to bring his craft to life. And so, having those different areas, those different strings to his bow, enables this to be to be a viable profession. And yeah, he's got an absolutely fantastic setup here, and it's brilliant to see.